So we just completed a 10-mile hike from in the Grand Canyon from Havasupai, and we made it back to the check-in point. And we had to do this long hike up at the last stretch. That part was the worst. We were definitely in the heat. Don't leave like when we did 11 a.m., 10 a.m. My co-host for this video today because we basically shared our equipment together and we went on the trip to Havasupai, and now we're gonna explain to you how to do it. We are here, just got back the day after a long Havasupai trip, and it was our first time going to Havasupai. Definitely worth it to go to see the views. And really, this video is to show you how to go to Havasupai and what equipment to use. And there's a lot that goes into that, and if you don't know how to go, then I can understand how it'll be hard. I read a good article about what items to bring. I also had someone guiding us too in our group that has been to Havasupai before, so that helped a lot, showing us the trails, but then also telling us our checklist of things that we need. So let's start with the essentials.
The number one thing you need is water, and like in a camel pack or something, you can just bring water bottles, but these things come in handy. This one's about 3 liters, and you go through water really fast because it is a lot of hiking. Just to get into the campgrounds, it's what, 11 miles, 13 miles?
Yeah, 10 miles, 11 miles.
Yeah. Just to get to the campground. And then there are multiple hikes you do throughout after you reach your destination. So water and electrolytes is your friend.
So yeah, definitely have the Camelbak. It's a 3-liter bag. Don't get anything smaller, that would be a waste. So it has to be a 3-liter bag. And then you don't need any water bottles. I didn't want to carry a water bottle, and I went with that one. However, if you want to bring a reusable water bottle, that's okay, because that way you can easily pour the water into your food that you need to cook with. I just had my Camelbak. Okay, so food. You get these dry packs of food. And Mountain House, I read, is the best brand. So just get this one. And you have breakfast. This one is scrambled eggs with bacon, and then you have lunch and dinner. This one's chicken teriyaki with rice and vegetables. It's not bad. It says for the big bags, it says 2 cups of water. Just put 1.5.
Yeah.
No more.
Otherwise, it's soup every single time.
Yeah. And it says to wait like 8-9 minutes. Literally, let it sit. Take your time, go to the bathroom, come back while it's sitting, and stir it up good. Something that was really cool that I had was this spoon that on the article I think I read, they recommended it. They linked it to the Amazon where I could buy it. Oh, it's still dirty. But it's this long spoon that's very suitable to eat out of the bags with. So you don't need a mess kit. If you have these bags, you don't need a mess kit. If you say you're going somewhere else and you bring a skillet or whatever, then a grill, then maybe you can use a mess kit. So I rented from a site in Colorado. They're called Mounted something, but they it was very easy to order online with the items that I needed, and then they delivered it very fast, and then now I'm just going to pack everything up that I rented and give it back to them. So you don't need to officially buy all of your equipment, you could rent it too. And other things I bought stuff from were from Amazon and REI, but I got the Mounted House food from the website that I rented online from, and then you can also buy it anywhere at Walmart or REI.
They're about $7 or $8 a pack.
Yeah, $6.
Another food that we could recommend, someone else in our group had MRE, made ready to eat meals. They were like the army, kind of the army supplies them. So basically you don't have water or anything with those, you just open them and they somehow cook by themselves.
Yeah. It seemed like a complicated process. It's very easy to just have, well, I guess it's a little bit pricey. Someone in our group had it for the water boiler, but I don't know exactly what it's called, but we use these red propane thingies, and you put it underneath and then you just light it, and then you put the can of water on top and it boils. You can only use that at Havasupai because you can't make a fire there. So you can't have roasted marshmallows or s'mores just with the thing that we use. We still did s'mores. Yeah. But we didn't have a campfire, so don't expect that. So the biggest thing you need is, of course, a bag to put all of your things in that you need to carry. So when you're going to Havasupai, there are some options.
The first option is you can carry this big bag full of your entire camping gear, which is what ranges around 30 to 40 pounds. If you have a tent, a sleeping bag, your food, clothes, etc., etc. So you could do that. You could carry this down the mountain,
which a lot of people do, or you could rent a mule. And I actually thought when I was first heard of that, when going to Havasupai, that I would be literally walking the mule on a leash with me. You didn't think that? Well, you actually put your stuff, all the mule, when you check in, well, they put it on, and then all the mules walk down together with everyone's stuff from people that are there, and then you get your stuff later that day when the mules get there, and then you have your stuff once they arrive. The first day it was raining. The mules got stuck in rain, so all of our stuff ended up being really wet, and it took a little bit longer for them to get down to the campground because the mules were basically walking in flooding water.
The months July and August in Havasupai are actually monsoon season, so they have a lot of flash floods there, which is what our mules got stuck in. So
we didn't experience it personally, though.
If you do go during that time, just know that that could happen to you during July and August.
Mm-hmm. So that's the second option, is to have a mule carry your stuff in, and that's what we all did because we didn't want anyone in the group, trailing behind because they're carrying this heavy bag. And I know people don't like to use animals, and it was very sad seeing all the animals there doing so much hard work carrying everyone's heavy stuff. These bags are actually really cool. I love them actually, and I'm kind of sad that it's not mine. It's something I rented because there's so many cool little compartments. You would never know. You always find a new compartment. Things fit very easily, and it fits very secure on your back. So there's a bunch of straps to strap it on, and it doesn't feel like it's a lot of weight.
What's the name of this brand?
Act Light Deuter by Deuter.
Yeah.
Each mule is $120 for round trip. For a round trip, right? And it can carry up to 4 bags with like 140 pounds or something. And so you can split it amongst 4 people for the mule and definitely get a round trip. And the third option is to just helicopter in and out. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity this time to do that, but I definitely would like to go to Havasupai again just because I know that I can helicopter in and out. So you have to be mindful of the days they have helicopter rides, because that's why we couldn't do a helicopter ride, because they didn't have it during time is during that time, but I do know that it's very hard to get a reservation. We actually were fortunate to have our reservation booked a year in advance, basically. So we've been planning this trip. We've been knowing that we were gonna go, but all of us probably didn't start preparing until the week of, which is okay. It's doable to do that too.
The helicopter ride's $95 one way. So if you want to do it, it's essentially $200.
Okay.
To go in and to go out, and the ride is only 7 minutes. It's a 7-minute.
Wow.
It's a 7-minute helicopter ride, and it's a 3-hour hike in at least minimum, and a 5-hour hike out.
So double check if you're allowed to bring your bags on the helicopter ride or not, or if you still have to get a mule. And another reason why I would recommend doing the helicopter ride is because it offers, I would say definitely do the walk-in. Why not? You're all excited, you're with your group, you're walking together, you can take your time if you'd like, you're leaving. We literally slept, so we slept the night before, the first night in our cars at the top of the trail. So we slept in our cars the first night. We got there by like 9 p.m., got a good night's rest, and then in the morning at 5 a.m. we were all up and then ready to start our hike at 6. And we started our hike during the nighttime. There are a lot of people coming out at that time too, because that's when it's most cool. So start your hike early in the morning. I would recommend also to take a helicopter ride out but not in, because it's worth it to take the hike in. It's 10 miles, but challenge yourself and do it, and then you get a feel for everything around you too. You're taking it in, but I also heard that it would be a nice experience to take the helicopter ride out, not only because you don't want to carry your stuff, but because it's just a different experience. It's a different experience of Havasupai from seeing the views above high in the helicopter. So yeah, we luckily had someone that's been to Havasupai before in our group, so they were able to guide us on the trails and camping situation. So now we all learn from that process, and we can go again and teach some other people. And yeah, I did like how it forced us all to spend time with each other. Obviously, you want to make it a good time because you want the whole trip to be good. And I did like too that you're forced to you're forced to have your phone off because you can't text otherwise. So we don't really have the discipline in our daily lives to turn off our phones, so it helps to be in nature for those reasons. When you're hiking in, I would recommend to bring 2 shoes on this trip. I would I mean you could bring 3 if you like, I'll tell you, but I would definitely recommend to use these dirty hiking shoes walking in the rocks and walking out. But when you're actually at Havasupai at the campground, you don't need them. Did you wear them?
No.
And so a second pair of shoes that you definitely need are water shoes. So these technically don't look like water shoes, you wouldn't think, but they are, and they're so useful. I read on the article, he linked the link to Amazon. These are by Merrell, and they're actually water shoes / hiking shoes. So would you say that is useful?
Yeah, there are some hikes and trails that you do that you actually have to like wade through water. These are definitely a good option. I had some Chaco sandals, and that's a big brand that you can get. Those usually run anywhere from $50 to $120. So those ones are kind of pricey.
If you do want a third pair of shoes, like I would say have some sandals that you can just slip on to be around your campground with, but you don't need them. Because it was kind of hard, like waking up in the morning and just like automatically putting these shoes on because I didn't have sandals to slip my feet in. All right, so sleep. We brought a tent and a hammock, but you don't need both. If you do want to bring a hammock to just rest in during the day and chill for a minute, then you can bring like a small hammock, but you don't need the whole tarp and the bug net and everything for all that. You can just get like a easy hammock you can put up and then have your tent to sleep in at night. Tent is definitely more cozy, and the thing why you need a tent too is to put your stuff in. Yeah. You get a lot of bug bites, so you constantly have to spray sunscreen and bug spray. And get like a really good quality bug spray because it's worth it. I mean, I wasn't really that serious about it the first day, and I think that's when I got the most bites. But and even when you go to sleep, you have to cover yourself in bug spray. So the tent that we have is from REI, and it's very suitable for future trips as well. It's just this little square and a little package. So I would recommend a tent that is very backpack friendly, that's for backpacking. So make sure you bring like big plastic bags, because you're not allowed to keep any trash in the village in Havasupai. You have to carry all your trash out with you. Kind of keep the trash away from your campsite. And also when you get there, it's cool because you have to like figure out where your home's gonna be. You kind of feel a little bit like, I don't want to be here when you don't have a home. But once we set up our home and our space with the multiple tents and hammocks, and we had our picnic tables, there are picnic tables there, so you don't necessarily need to bring little camping chairs. You just have to find a spot next to a picnic table and be able to like set everything out. I think we found a good spot. Yeah. There is not that many good spots there. Like, I was imagining it to be a lot nicer, the campground. This was my first time ever hiking, so I'm sure there are a lot nicer campground spaces. When you're in your hammock, I had a sleeping bag. So I had this sleeping bag that I rented, and it's very suitable to have a sleeping bag in your hammock with you because you'll be cold. And then I also had like a little blanket as well that I used for the car too. So if you're sleeping the night in your car, I mean, you have your sleeping bag, but if you don't want to roll it out and everything, just make sure you have blankets and pillows for the car, because that's something that I didn't think about. Snacks. You have your regular food that we showed you guys right here, but then make sure you bring day snacks. I also packed a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that I read on an article someone did. So those were definitely useful because you want some real food. And you have your like trail mix, like, you know, in packs like this, and then you can bring like crackers and or whatever in sandwich bags, and of course bars. I would recommend bringing like a little book to read at night, because there's nothing to do at night, because once the sun sets, everyone has to go in their tent and go to sleep or do something, because there's nothing you can do like around the area.
And if you have light outside, the bugs just swarm, so it's not worth it.
Yeah, just crawl in your tent or hammock when the night comes. It was recommended from things I heard, and also an article I read of just having proper hiking socks, and I think they made a world of a difference. What do you think?
Yeah, they were super comfortable.
So the two brands at REI that they recommended me to choose from were Smartwool and Darn Tough. So these were the two brands that were recommended to me. I didn't even use the Darn Tough. You use these, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you like them?
Well, because I did the double layer.
Yeah, so we also used a liner sock, which was recommended to me at REI, which is like a thin silk sock that you put underneath the sock. And so that way it helps prevent blisters, because instead of your feet rubbing against the sock or the shoe, the socks are just rubbing against each other. So I want to show you guys my Camelbak, because this was my first Camelbak I ever had, and I was very excited to get it because I knew I needed it, and I feel like it's a necessity on the trip. For him, we just got the bag itself, and you can put that in any backpack, small backpack that you have, and it's still fine. So this is something that you carry with you every day, all the time. So when you're hiking in, you're carrying this, and when you're hiking out on your day hikes, and you have all of your stuff in here. So I always kept my little toiletries on me, which had the sunscreen and the bug spray, and all my little stuff like chapstick, snacks, whatever, was always in here. So it was definitely useful, and I loved my backpack. I would definitely recommend this type of Camelbak, because let me see, it just says mule, so it might just be a plain mule, but it was actually very useful, and I liked all the compartments. And I got this from Amazon, so I made sure I read the reviews of which one I should get, and I'm very happy with this one. And make sure you have a rain cover for your big bag. So even if it's bright and sunny or something when you first arrive, before you put your bags on the mule, just in case, put the rain cover on your backpack.
So there are three main funnels there. There's what we call like a 2.5-mile hike that took us forever to find, and then there's the Hidden Falls.
The furthest one's Beaver, but then there's also one on the way to Beaver Falls. There's another fall which was my favorite. What do you think?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was the fall that we spent the least amount of time at as well, because we were on our way to Beaver, so we just stopped there because we had to come down the ladder there, and we took a couple pictures and kept walking. And I would say if you don't get a chance to go to Beaver Falls, you don't need to, but I would recommend it because the hike there is so fun, because that was my first hike ever walking through water. Like, you had to cross the river multiple times, and that was cool. And it's refreshing to be able to hike in water for a little bit and then get out and start walking on the ground. Just ask everyone along the way that's coming back or with you just exactly where to go. But it's fun to just be able to take your time and figure it out yourself too, because there's always a trail. And just, if you're going to Beaver Falls, don't leave as late as we did. Just leave right after breakfast or something, get it out of the way, and then later when you come back to the campsite, you still may have time to chill at the resort waterfall.
Yeah.
So the resort waterfall is the first big waterfall that you see that Havasupai is known for, and you could just chill around it and like taking the sunbathe, and then we had like floaties. So bring floaties because those are useful. And then the first fall that we saw there coming in was the Hidden Falls, and that was really nice that we were able to see that. Don't cliff jump or swim around the main fall, because if you swim near that fall, you can get taken under, and someone actually died by that.
So some fun facts about Havasupai. So on our last day, we asked some tribal members just some questions about the land and their history. And so basically they have no origin story. They have always said that they've been here at this place and on this land since time immemorial, which is pretty cool.
Since when?
Time immemorial. Like they have no record date of when it was founded or anything. They just say that they've always just been there. The first contact they've had with people occurred in the 1700s with the Spaniards, which was pretty interesting. They said that there's about 800 tribal members that live in that area.
That's a lot. I didn't see that many.
And some of them are in the village, some of them are roaming around. They have only an elementary school, basically. Everyone that goes to high school, they send them off to boarding school.
So yeah, we luckily had someone that's been to Havasupai before in our group, so they were able to guide us on the trails and camping situation. So now we all learn from that process, and we can go again and teach some other people. Go to Havasu Falls.
Yeah.
Sooner than later.
Yeah, sooner than later. Start your reservations now, and maybe you'll get it for next year.
Alright guys, so if this video gave you any value at all, if you learned something, if now you know how to go to Havasupai, or you're more motivated to go, then like the video and comment if you have any more questions, because we would love to answer your questions. I totally have no problem helping you guys with this process, because I know it can be overwhelming. Or if you have any comments of how this video was or what you think, let us know. And also subscribe to hear more about more adventures and how you can get help and thoughts of future things. Recommend for you to go to Havasupai. Check it out, but definitely helicopter in and helicopter out. How do you guys feel?
Fuck off. Have that for your video.